Kumusta ka everyone? Ako si Caitlin na ngayon mag-usap namin tungkol sa 2014 pelikula Diary ng Panget. Diary ng Panget is a movie. That's it. That's all I have to say. But no, this movie is a lot of things, as you will come to learn as we get into this video. If you're not familiar with the movie itself, I'm pretty sure you've heard of Wattpad before, whether you wanted to or not. It's kind of everywhere. Wattpad is an online novel sharing website that basically hit its peak in like 2014, 2016-ish, because by 2017 we had all moved on to AO3. He was recently purchased by Naver for an obscene amount of money. I do not know how or why they paid this much money for this app, and recently Naver signed a contract with Viacom CBS to have the properties on like Wattpad and Webtoon as well, because they own them too. They're having like the books made on those apps made into television shows. No, honey, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the white people version. Yeah, that. Now, while Wattpad has only recently been taken seriously in the US with the popularity of the film series After, as well as The Kissing Booth, the Philippines has been on that shit since like 2013. So it's really interesting to see the United States finally, like, I guess, recognizing the power behind fan-created content, but also the power behind like just a bunch of young women who got together on an app and were like, yo, let's just make books because we like to read. And now you have like an app that's worth $600 million. But the popularity of Wattpad in the Philippines would lead to some questionable content, which brings us to Diary ng Panget. Now, Diary ng Panget was like the first Wattpad novel to movie adaptation ever, from my understanding. From my limited understanding, it was like the first of its kind. It started an era of Filipino television and movie that we are still living in to this day. That's right. We are not living in a post-Wattpad world, okay? She is very much alive and thriving. And I think that continued relevancy isn't so much owed to Diary ng Panget as it is She's Dating the Gangster, which came out, I think, later that same year. And the most recent example of like Wattpad's continued relevancy is definitely He's Into Her, which is the I Want TV series. He's Into Her just got renewed for a season 2, so that's gonna be pretty interesting. I tried to force myself to watch the show. I tried to force myself to watch it, but ayoko si Dani Pangilinan, so I ended up giving up. Diary ng Panget is directed by Andoy Ranay, and it stars Nadine Lustre and James Reid. RIP. They're not dead, they just broke up. The screenplay was done by Mil Mendoza del Rosario, who probably earned the easiest paycheck in cinema history, because this script is literally just the Wattpad novel copy and pasted into a script format.
Talented, brilliant, incredible, amazing, show-stopping.
This film follows Aya, an orphan who is hired by a super rich dude to be the personal maid of his Halima-like son, Cross. Now, it mainly follows Aya and Cross and their like love story throughout the full movie. However, I should mention that there are two other main characters in the story, and they are Chad, played by Andre Paras, and Lori, played by Yasi Pressman. And before I dive into the actual story, I do just want to point out that this movie is completely and utterly insane because it is so Wattpad. Have you ever wanted to watch a Wattpad book unfold in front of you in definitely not 4K? Before we go any further though, I think it's important to preface this entire video by saying that I really, like, unironically love this movie. And it's a problem. Because it's a problem, I'm about to make it your problem. I apologize, but we're in this together now. So the film starts with Aya writing in her diary about her apartment complex being torn down, and she's weirdly chill about it. And you better be chill with never seeing that diary again, because this is the only time she ever writes in it in the entire movie. She also goes to Wilford Academy, and we finally meet our male love interest.
Panget na nga. Lampa pa.
But because this is Wattpad, he's an asshole. Aya gets hired by Mr. Sanford to be Cross's personal maid.
What now, you old toothless fart?
And they get up to the usual Wattpad shenanigans, you know. She takes care of him while he's drunk, she sees him shirtless, he makes her life miserable.
Sinadya ko yun para mas lalo kanilang paginitan. So you and your pimples will be miserable.
The whole shebang. Aya ends up befriending Lori, who actually has a crush on Cross. Now, she's British. Yassi Pressman is not British.
You little chicken boxes! Let go of her!
And Chad, who Aya met earlier, but it's not really that important, so we're just gonna skip to this part. But Chad ropes Aya into helping him ask Lori to be his girlfriend. However, Aya is really not the best. So the plan goes kind of sideways. If you think that will impact the dynamic between any of these characters, you would be wrong. This will not be important in like 10 minutes. Cross gets sick because this is a Wattpad book. They end up going to the hospital and we get this line.
Di mo man lang tinahandahan. Alam mo namang masikip eh. Pinilit mo lang ako eh.
Bastos talaga. Chad gives Aya cupcakes, but Cross eats them, and then her and him get into a fight, and she quits her fucking job. Chad can make you more cupcakes, girl. Why would you quit your job? Is he a pain in the ass? Yes, but him eating your cupcakes is probably the least offensive thing he's done to you in this entire movie. Anyway, Mr. Sanford gives Cross like a stern talking to, and then he stands on the balcony in a wife beater and thinks about all the great times they've had together. Anyway, Cross ends up going to Aya's aunt's restaurant, and he gives a 10 out of 10 YouTuber apology, and she goes back to work for him because she's not that much of an idiot. Then she gets kidnapped. No, I'm not joking right now. She literally gets kidnapped in this movie. I look way too happy to be talking about somebody getting kidnapped, but like this scene is so bad. I wish I could play the entire scene for you so that you could understand how like positively insane this movie is and this entire like sequence of events is. But because ABS-CBN would probably send me to copyright hell for putting the whole scene, here are some highlights.
Shut up! Hindi mo ako kilala, but we have.
Hindi kita kilala. I don't talk to strangers.
Meow.
Meow? Idol! Picture pare! Sige, sige! Picture bahala. Easy lang, easy lang!
After this, Aya tries to cheer up Chad, because he's disappointed that Lori is, you know, still not accepting of his advances. This whole scene is just a great reminder that, like, he should have ended up with Aya. What does Cross have aside from that big house? Okay, so he's got money and abs. And he thinks that wearing sleeveless anything is a personality trait. Look at freaking Chad, okay? He can bake. He's a soccer player. He's also rich. What woman in her right mind would pick the asshole who has been mean to them this entire movie over a genuinely nice guy who's been nothing but supportive and helpful to her this entire movie? Sure, he's chasing after Lori, but girl, it wouldn't have taken much effort to be like, choose me, pick me. He already liked you and thought you were pretty. So like, why are we even having this whole like, is it a love triangle shit? Like, just date Chad.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
Aya and Cross go to the cemetery. Oh my gosh, I forgot to mention the dead parents. Right after Aya ruins Chad's, like, proposal thing, Aya and Cross get trapped in a classroom together, and they bond over having dead parents. Because this is a Wattpad novel, so of course they have to have deceased parents. Anyway, fast forward to now. They go to the cemetery to visit their parents. This would be a sweet moment between them and like a serious moment for the story. If Viva Films hadn't decided to hoe out James Reed again. Put that shit back on. I've been to the Philippines. It's not even cold. So the school festival happens. Because they were planning a school festival, you don't need to worry about it. It's not that important. But the school festival happens. Lori confesses to Cross. But Cross is like, actually, I love Aya. Instead of just telling Aya, like, I have feelings for you, he decides to tell her that this is an opportunity to force Lori to accept Chad. So he convinces her to get fake married at the school festival. They get fake married. They kiss. Lori sees it and runs straight into Chad's arms and finally accepts him. If you're wondering what the central, like, plot is to this movie, there isn't one. Did I mention this movie is like 2 hours? I probably should have mentioned that earlier. This movie is 2 hours. And for the last 10 minutes of it, we get the school dance plot, or the Cinderella plot. They have the school dance. Why did they use this music? It's literally so terrible. And like throughout the rest of this movie, the soundtrack is like fairly decent. Is it misplaced at like every moment? Yeah. Whoever decided where the songs would go in this movie, I question your choices. I question your choices. Why are they dancing to royalty-free gaming music? Aya ends up dancing with a masked stranger.
Can you really fall in love with someone you love to hate?
Emphasis on stranger because she doesn't recognize him. Girl, who else in this entire movie has worn nothing but sleeveless shirts? She doesn't recognize him, so they have a Cinderella moment where she tries to match a fucking men's dress shoe to the different guys in their school. The truth comes out, of course, because how could it not? It's so painfully obvious. And then we get the only other scene in this movie that actually has like the diary in it.
Hoy, diary ng pangit na si Aya. She's not my type. Hindi rin siya kagandahan. Pero siya ang nagpapaganda ng mundo ko.
Aya, will you be my girlfriend?
Yes.
Maybe I'm into cringy romance bullshit, but I kind of liked this part, okay? Shoot me. Anyway, they kiss, and the movie finally ends. This movie has issues, as you can probably tell. I'm just gonna mention the most like obvious and egregious issues because there are so many, and I don't want to keep you for like, I don't know, the rest of eternity. I'm just gonna list them off because it's easier that way. The editing is bland. There's nothing to like try and make this like flow well, which doesn't help when your script is already all over the place. So not only are we visually seeing just all these just disjointed sections of the film, but we're also experiencing story-wise like just this continuous, all these different plots getting thrown in because nobody decided to pick one thing, one plot point from the book to be the central plot of the film. We had to do every single fucking plot point. We had to have them all. It doesn't make sense for either of these couples to get together because sure, Cross had his little change of heart, but like it doesn't feel earned. Their fight doesn't make any sense. What about her quitting after he eats her motherfucking cupcakes? What part of that feels like it's big enough or heavy enough or important enough to warrant this entire change of character, which he doesn't really change his character that much. The main characters aren't likable. Cross and Aya individually, like together, they're like kind of cute, but like individually, if you look at both characters, they are really, really not so great. Aya is so dumb. She quits her job over fucking cupcakes. I still can't get over that. She's just in general like kind of annoying, to be quite honest. And I know that's because she's largely like a self-insert. Like, even though she's not your name may not ever be mentioned, but it's generally like you want to see yourself as this girl, and that's why you read the book. But like, I don't even want to be her because Cross is such a pain in the ass. He's so terrible to her the entire movie. When he apologized to her, he gave her like, what is it? It's I forget what he gave to her, but like, she had spicy food and he gave her vinegar to drink. This bitch literally poured vinegar into a cup and gave it to her. And then 5 seconds later, he's like, I'm sorry. I really do love this film despite all of its issues. And I think that's mainly because this was the first Filipino movie that I had ever watched. Cool about it was this was Filipino entertainment in a genre of film that I liked, basically, because I watched this movie in 2017 and I was 16, or maybe not even 16 yet. I might have been 15. And so like, I was reading Wattpad. I don't know, I just really connected to this movie despite it being terrible. I used to watch this movie too much. I like this. I genuinely liked this movie. And now I like it more in an ironic sense for the nostalgia. And it really does have its moments where it's not so terribly horrible.
Bakit ang pangit mo?
Saan mo tinatago yung sungit buntot mo?
Kung may plano kang lasunin si Cross, maintindihan kita, pero matakot ka sa Diyos.
Ayoko pong mapunta sa impyerno. Magkikita na naman kami dun.
Mas gusto mo pa bang magsulat ng fantasy mo? Or gusto mong bigyan ng chance ang totoong feelings natin?
And the soundtrack.
Here we go. Come with me. There's a world out there that we should see.
Iconic. I listen to this soundtrack like in my everyday life on a regular basis. I honestly don't know if I should have admitted that or not. I love listening to these songs. They are just iconic. My favorite, No Erase. Saying No Erase is such like a that's such a cop-out because it's like the theme song of the whole movie, but it really is my favorite song. Di Ko Alam would be my favorite if it didn't have that atrocious rap verse by Andre Paras.
What's a man gotta do to get your attention? Get a chance to show you some love and affection.
Why did they do that to him? Anyway, this has been my video. I've said so much and yet so little at the same time. But honestly, the film just really speaks for itself. If you've seen it, you know. And if you haven't seen it, now you know. And I would recommend watching it if you're into Wattpad or Filipino entertainment. I feel like it's a staple of both of those things. I'd love to check out some other things. I feel like right now I've just kind of been watching this movie, Can't Help Falling in Love, and that's it. I just realized those are the only two Filipino movies that have like stayed in my rotation of films that I watch when I just want something to watch. So yeah, I'd love to expand my horizons, especially since, I guess in the terms of Diary ng Panget, my horizon is looking kind of bleak. I really enjoyed making this video. It's so fun to talk about Filipino entertainment, and I do want to discuss it more in the future. I would love to talk about some more Filipino entertainment. Maybe I'll go into the Pinoy Big Brother contestant to legitimate celebrity pipeline because I've been seeing a pattern. I'm about to turn into that one meme of the guy like looking at the ball like, do you see this? Side note, my sister and I wanted to go on to Pinoy Big Brother, you know, for the drama.
When I talk, I want that people look me into the eyes because I'm not talking to the wall.
Do you guys know what they're fighting for?
Alright,
I honestly don't know what they're fighting for.
Hey, what's wrong with you? You, ako. Oh. Anong pagkamali ko? Yan.
Yeah.
Ay nako, ang bata mo. Ang bata mo talaga.
But we can talk about all that on a different day. I'm gonna let you go now. But I hope you enjoyed this video. And thank you so much for watching. And I will see you whenever I see you next.
Bakshit. I like her.
Woo!
Action!
Nagbabensa dire. Eya!